All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome. It's our pleasure to be part of the forum here. We just opened with a piece of music that we thought would perhaps create a relaxing mood. Our career has been based on using music to create healing environments. We know that personally music affects how we feel in a particular environment, and we'll be talking about our work a little bit more later. Just a few words about the instruments. Susan is playing an electroacoustic harp, and this is the same size and style harp that's used in symphony orchestras, but it has a piezoelectric pickup on every string, which allows it to be amplified and sound bigger than live. I hope that's how it sounded for you. And I was playing a bansuri, the Indian bamboo flute. I'm a longtime student of Indian classical music, and that's the instrument that I play in that particular music. We just played a piece by English guitarist John McLaughlin of Mahavishnu Orchestra fame, and it's a piece that is dedicated to his friend here, Hussein, who is one of the world's great tabla players, and that I have the pleasure of knowing personally also. And that piece was simply entitled Zakir. So we're going to play different styles of music, and now I'll let Susan introduce the next piece.
Good morning. I'm so happy to spend this Sunday morning with all of you doing what we love to do most. We are playing for you from our living room, which is our music room, our concert room, our studio. And so we feel we're at home and you are in our home. The next piece we're going to play for you is a piece written by a long time friend of Dallas's, Thomas Frickberg, who lives in Stockholm. And he's a retired music teacher, and we love his music, and we could be the only ones playing this piece other than him. And it's called Bulgarian Butterflies. that piece again? Wait a minute. You gotta use the microphone. Okay, I'm going to use the microphone. I forgot. That piece was Bulgarian Butterflies for flute, harp, and dog. So what you heard was our dog Jamal, who sings with us very often, but today we exiled him to the yard. So forgive us.
In the middle of the piece.
In the middle of the piece. So.
Okay, we are happy to play different styles of music, as I mentioned, and the piece that we just played is a little bit jazzier. It might have made your heartbeat go a little faster, your respiration. But we know that according to the style of music we play, our bodies respond because we're sensitive human beings. We respond to our environment. Therefore, we respond to the music we hear and to the environment in which we find ourselves. And it's that premise that has been the basis of our desire, started many years ago, to bring music into healthcare institutions. And to do that, we formed a company way back in 1992 called Healing Healthcare Systems. And we're very happy that our care channel, our 24-hour relaxation channel for patients in hospitals, is now in around 1,000 hospitals nationwide. And during this pandemic, we got great feedback from the hospitals using the channel, and it's just very gratifying to know that we are giving them something that helps them in this traumatic time of the pandemic. So I'm going to give the mic to Susan, who has a computer PowerPoint you want to turn on, right?
Yes, I promise you it won't be long, but this was the best way for me to tell you about our work. So I'm going to go right over here and share my screen. So bringing music into healthcare was not just a mission. It was actually, we were asked to do it by Renown and also another hospital in Georgia, which became our first hospital, but that was not necessarily the goal. So we responded to a request, and when we did that, we had to look around at, well, how do we do that, and how much do we do it? Well, as I go through this PowerPoint, you will understand better what our concept has been, and also how we basically address many of the needs of patients that are unspoken needs. So first, I'm going to speak to this. I'm going to close these windows down here. Speak to this quote by Alan Watts, who was one of my most favorite mentors. I never met him. I heard him speak live. And he was well known in the 70s and 80s and unfortunately died young. And he wrote, "Life is like music for its own sake. We are living in an eternal now, and when we listen to music, we are not listening to the past. We are not listening to the future. We are listening to an expanded present." And it was based on this that we decided, first of all, to use music that is unfamiliar, because otherwise we do listen for the next bar and we play the piece out. So to bring a patient into the immediacy of the now, we use music that they have not heard before. Now, I'm looking for my arrows. No, I know. Okay, so I'm going to give you a brief history of hospital and healthcare that will help you literally understand the confusion abounds, especially at this time. So Asclepius was the Greek god of healing, and he had a temple, and people who were very ill went to his temple, and at that time they looked at dreams as being the keys to healing, and a great deal of mythology. So it was belief system, it was stories, it was prayer, it was music, it absolutely was nature and alchemy. And alchemy, the use of herbs, was our original pharmaceutical industry. So that was 1200 BC. So if we move ahead more than 1,000 years later, we look at the medieval period. And at this point, Crusaders Christians who came into the Middle East decided that everyone who was not a Christian was a heretic. So they had permission to kill them, but also when they came, they not only brought the violence, but they spread diseases from their country into communities that had no immunity. And we didn't even know what immunity was. Then the Romans set up special officers to deal with sanitary problems. And although they dealt with hygiene, and we were just in Turkey, and they had open latrines, but they had a sewage system that is alive and well today. It was so well built. They also realized that diseases were contagious, although they didn't know the word. They realized that if well people were around sick people, that they could get themselves sick. And the Islamic physicians were ahead of us all, and they advanced the scientific method and advanced science. So quarantine laws were passed. And as you know, we're living in one right now. But when you think about the plague, when you think about the Black Death, when you think about other historic pandemics, the sick were quarantined to protect the well. So now we move forward still into the 15th to 17th century. And there was progress, but there was also conflict. So the scientific method, which was established by Aristotle, looking for the laws of nature and discovering them. Remember, we didn't create them, we're just discovering them. And that in order to understand them, you had to come up with a hypothesis, you had to test it, come up with results, and then do it again to make sure whatever you came up with was not an accident. And that scientific method is what we're using to this day. Original hospitals were run by the church, and the original nurses were religious women, nuns. And so they were really controlled by liturgy, by their belief system. And if you look at I don't have a picture right here, but if you look at the original hospitals and hospices from the 17th century France, they look like a combination of hospice and a confessional. And they're very beautiful, but they're in the church. The other thing that went along with that was that New Thought was challenged, that anything that challenged the liturgy was considered heresy. So if you watch the movie, which you can find on Netflix, called The Physician, which is really a wonderful movie. Let me see, did I lose you? I'm looking at this. There we go. Okay, so so hard to understand why am I having this problem? There we go. Okay, so that meant that if a physician came up with a method that he knew would cure an infection, like cleaning it or amputating a leg, that was challenging the idea that God was the only entity that could cure anything. And many physicians were crucified, hung, or burned.
Oh, here it comes. Let's go. Okay, there, it's got it. It's got it.
Okay, I'm going to go back. So there was obviously a conflict between the religious agenda
and science and the secular agenda,
which, as you know, continues to this day.
So science has been continually challenged by myths and beliefs, and so for that reason, innovations that are contrary to the paradigm in which we live
are challenged sometimes for decades or hundreds of years. So now I'm going to go through this again. We started with the Asclepian temples. Then we went to the medieval period. Then we went through the church. And now we come up to the 17th century. Which we had a period of enlightenment, but more than that, we had philosophers that really wanted to dig deeper into what truth was. So Descartes, French philosopher, he really took on the issue of science and religion, and really came up with this, which was interpreted as the mind-body conundrum. And when I look at this, I want you to look at it, that there was a belief, even up to recently, that the physical universe could not affect the non-physical, and the non-physical, for instance, prayer, or believing in someone or focusing your attention, that's non-physical, could affect a physical reality like disease. And of course, many studies have shown that yes, they can affect them, but we don't know to what degree. So I want to go further into Descartes. So he said, I think, therefore I am. So the existence was about consciousness, not about physicality. So on the left, you have the mind and belief system. On the right, you have the physical body, our physical universe around us, and science. And supposedly, they would never meet. However, comes the belief system. And the belief system binds together the mind and physicality. So as Dallas said, you sit here, your sentient being sits, you listen to music, and physiology responds to it, and it changes. So that's your own concrete evidence that the non-physical affects the physical. However, there's more. So now we look at beliefs, the body, mind, and the beliefs, and it creates individual personhood, whole person care, where there is no separation between the body, the mind, belief system, that we are indeed whole, and that everything must be addressed for us to be well. So what is also visible is love and care. And in this picture, what you see is nature at its best. You see a mama duck and her small babies, and the natural way that we are collaborative and collect, that is how we survive. So this is a quote from Hans Christian Andersen. "Just living isn't enough," said the butterfly. "One must have sunshine, freedom, and little flower." And so when I look again at this scene, this mountainous scene with the flower and these tiny little baby ducks, I want to talk to you about Florence Nightingale and Martha Rogers. They were both theorists separated by 150 years. So what they both came to, although Nightingale was first, is that the person-environment relationship is irreducible. That means wherever you're sitting now, I'm going to ask you to think about where you're sitting. Think about the chair you're sitting on. And think about whether what you're feeling is your butt
feeling the chair, or the chair responding to your butt. And if you were holding someone's hand, it would be hard for you to discern whether you're feeling your own hand, feeling somebody else, or actually feeling their hand. So we do, through our sensory system, merge into one unit with our environment. Human beings are pan-dimensional fields of energy that include everything around us. It exists in a temporal and energy field in time and space. And we merge with our environment, so it's very critical to pay attention to how we're responding to life, because it could be a whole lot to do with where we're sitting, what we're hearing, what we're seeing, what we're habituated to that we forgot it was impacting us. So we cannot understand how we are by taking apart our bodies one piece at a time. For instance, you have a headache, and you think the headache originates in your head. However, if you don't pay attention to the environment around you, the environment itself can be contributing to the stress that caused the headache, and certainly may prevent from being resolved. So this unitary theory of Rogers says that you cannot understand human beings through any one part or through the summary parts, that you have to look at it literally in terms of that are irreducible, that we cannot be separated from the environment in which we find ourselves. And that makes it critical for us to intentionally design and pay attention to the spaces in which we work and we heal. So whole person healing includes the context with which a person merges. And so that is why I developed a theory of music as an environmental design. And that means that we put music, the care channel, which is both music and nature, into a hospital room via the television. That's the medium. However, that becomes the cornerstone of a healing environment. It sets the emotional affect of the auditory environment. It brings nature into an otherwise sterile environment. So our role in healing healthcare systems is to bring the care channel and to be a proactive component, an intentionally designed healing environment. And I would like to see if I don't think I can do it, but we will send out a link after this presentation. We have offered a COVID gift of the care channel and several guided imagery programs to everyone in the world, literally. So we'll send it to you, and you're going to be able to use it if you need it. So I'm going to stop sharing and go to our performance.
So thank you, Susan. We're going to go back now to the live musical part of our presentation this morning.
You'll be able to ask questions when we're done. I'm happy to take questions.
So we are basically jazz players, which means that we like to improvise. And so we're going to do that for you now. And an improvisation means that it's something that we've never practiced before or never rehearsed. And it's a spontaneous creation. You might say a meditation. It's like a musical conversation that we will be speaking to each other in the language of music, but spontaneously, never done in this way before, never to be done this way again.
Okay, for a moment before we start, I want to talk to you about spontaneity. We are not that good at it. We're good at it when we have to be. But most of us really want to control what happens. And so we plan, and all of us know the best made plans, somehow a wrench is thrown into it. And when the wrench is thrown into it, we have to figure out a solution, and we do that in the moment. So that's improvisational living. Musically, it may seem that improvisation is somehow limited to jazz, or it's limited to other musical art forms, but the reality is that all music begins from improvisation. Every composition started because a composer sat at the piano or dreamt it up at night and found in the spaces, I call it the limbo of improvisation, a melody that they remembered. Remember, lots of melodies go into that place, never to be heard again. And then they're developed. And it's the same thing with writing a book. It's the same thing with writing a newspaper article. It's the same thing with anything creative. It comes somehow out of our consciousness, takes form, and we forget, literally forget, that we are all creative beings. So as you listen to this, and I think you're going to hear it much better if you're not looking at us, but it's your choice, just be with us in the moment, because we don't know what we're going to do and you don't know what we're going to do. So this is a very much an opportunity for you to experience your own wholeness.
So that was our creation for the morning, our improvisation, special to this mood, to this day, to how we're feeling at the moment within ourselves, with each other. And it's a musical reflection of the intention of creating a musical experience for all of us to share. And I can say as a performer, it's a little bit strange to play music knowing that people are listening and yet we can't see any of you. But we hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. So I think now would be a time that we could ask if there are any questions that anyone has. We do have another piece to play after this. But if there are any questions, I think I have to turn up my sound again, don't I?
Okay, you could put them in the chat.
I think there's a chat
function.
There's no chat function allowed on this.
What?
We've disabled the chat function, so there's no.
Is there a chat function?
Oh.
No.
Why? Oh. How come?
It's a safety precaution for people who might want to Zoom bomb the event.
Oh.
Okay, so I can hear you. So if you just ask a question, we'll respond to it.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
Whoops.
Yeah. Everyone should mute.
Tori, I'm waiting for a question.
It's like toilets flushing.
Is it working, right?
No questions?
I don't think so. That would be Sophie.
Okay.
We're all experimenting nowadays.
Let's go ahead and play one more piece.
At the end. right, we thank you very much. We've enjoyed presenting to you today. I should mention that that last piece that we played is entitled Feast. It's by a friend of ours named Bill Douglas, who lives in Boulder, Colorado. And that one happens to be on one of our recordings entitled New Times, Good Times, which is one of our jazzy CDs. We also have a number of other CDs that we produce for hospitals that are more relaxing and less jazzy, perhaps you might say. And we'll make sure that if you are interested in acquiring our music, you can go to healinghealth.com, which is our company site, or mazerandsmith.com, our two websites, our personal and our business websites.
I want to thank you so much for inviting us, Ginny, for allowing us to play for you, for coming into our living room this wonderful sunny morning. I want to tell you that we are very, very focused on this pandemic in a way that we're doing everything we can to support our local nonprofit organizations, the food bank, the notables who provide music therapy now at a distance, all of our musicians who will be doing performances online for you. And I urge you also to support your local organizations. This is an unprecedented time that the coronavirus, the novel coronavirus, has brought the world to a stop. And we are finding out more about it. If you remember at the beginning, it was thought, well, this might affect old people, it won't affect young people. They went down this list, and all that has proven to be false. At this point, those who have contracted it and those who have died, those who have it now, span the entire range from birth to death. Also, we know that the COVID-19 virus can lead to kidney failure, heart attacks, stroke. They're just finding out, what does this devil do to our internal organs? So I encourage you, no matter what you're told, stay home. We do not know any more than we knew 6 weeks ago. Other than we have no vaccine and social distancing, washing your hands, wearing a mask, staying at home and away from crowded places is working in terms of stabilizing the number of new cases. Obviously not 100%. So whoever you hang out with, you're hanging out with whoever they hung out with, and they are hanging out with all the many people that every other person is around. So I encourage you to use the internet, use the technology to reach out, to feel connected. Be grateful that you can stay at home because so many people cannot. We wish you the very best. Please ask us to do this again. It was wonderful. And if you have questions, you can email us. Ginny has our email address, and I'm happy to address them personally or send them all out. Thank you again, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thank you. Thank you once again on behalf of myself, Dallas Smith, and Susan Mazer. We wish everybody a great day.
And we're going to leave you so you can then go on with your Sunday morning service.
Thank you.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you both. Thank you, Jenny and Philip.
Well, Jenny, this is Kevin Murphy, and I just want to let everyone know that on May 10th, in 2 weeks, Jim Hulse and I will be talking about UUs as agents of social change. I'm going to take the 19th century. He's going to take the 20th century. And we're going to talk about half a dozen UU heroes of social change. And then on May 24th, Philip Moore is going to be moderating a session by Suzanne Martin, professor of political science at UNR, talking about why the world has been turning away from liberal democracy. And on May 31st, that's one of those fifth Sundays, Karen Foster and maybe a special guest will be talking about the challenges of sex education in Nevada. And finally, on June 14th, we'll be talking about reparations with two well-spoken guests. So thank you very much. We'll see you then. And sometime this summer, we'll zoom into a brainstorm. And thank you again, Susan and Dallas, for a wonderful morning of music and healing.